My name is Tamika Franks. I'm 28 years old, and the man I almost married left me alone the night before they cut open my skull. If you saw us online, you'd think we were perfect. The kind of couple people screenshot and send to their friends with captions like, goals. But the truth? I was building his dream, while slowly disappearing from my own. I met Ethan 4 years ago at a startup networking event. One of those loud, overcrowded rooms where everyone talks like they're already successful, even when they're barely holding it together. I was there because of my job. Software developer, stable, predictable. He was there pitching an idea that sounded bigger than it actually was. He had this energy. Fast, confident, a little reckless. The kind of man who made you feel like standing next to him meant you were part of something important. And for some reason, he chose me. We started dating almost immediately. He told me I made him feel grounded. I told him he made me feel like life was finally moving somewhere. Looking back, I think we were both lying, just in different ways. I believed in him more than he believed in himself. So I invested, not just emotionally. $45,000 of my savings went into his startup, quietly, without hesitation. I stayed up late helping him fix presentations, rewriting pitches, organizing numbers that didn't quite add up. I wasn't just his girlfriend. I was the foundation he stood on. And when he proposed, he didn't surprise me with the ring. He showed me exactly what he wanted. Princess-cut diamond, custom side stones, something rare enough to stand out. It cost $27,000. I remember staring at the receipt, feeling this flicker of doubt in my chest, and then ignoring it. Because I loved him. Because I thought love meant giving without keeping score. For a while, it felt worth it. We were that couple. The ones posting rooftop dinners, business milestones, smiling selfies with captions about building an empire together. But somewhere along the way, the tone shifted. At first, it was subtle. If I came home exhausted and suggested we just stay in, he'd sigh like I'd just failed some invisible test. We're supposed to be a power couple, Tamika, not people who settle. Then came the comments. You're smart, but you don't push yourself enough. You could be so much more if you stopped playing it safe. Every word sounded like motivation, but it didn't feel like support. It felt like I was constantly being measured, and always coming up short. Meanwhile, he started going out more. Networking events, late-night business dinners, always with Diana and Lexi, two women who never quite hid the way they looked at me. Like I was temporary. Like I didn't belong in his future. I told myself I was imagining things, that relationships evolve, that maybe this was just what ambition looked like. So I tried harder, worked longer hours, took on more responsibility, supported him more. But no matter what I did, it was never enough. Then the headaches started. At first, they were easy to ignore. Just pressure behind my eyes after long days staring at screens. But they got worse. Sharper. Deeper. Like something inside my skull was tightening, little by little. Until one afternoon, in the middle of a meeting, everything went black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. Bright lights. Machines beeping. A doctor standing at the foot of the bed with that look, the one you never want to see. Brain tumor. Aggressive. We need to operate immediately. The words didn't feel real. They floated around me like they belonged to someone else's life. I remember calling Ethan. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I thought he'd panic. Thought he'd rush to the hospital. Thought he'd say something, anything, that made me feel less alone. Instead, he asked, "How long is recovery? We already booked the venue." I should have ended it right there. But fear makes you hold on to things you should let go of. The days before surgery were the longest of my life. Tests, paperwork, conversations I barely processed. And Ethan? He was there. But not really. If I talked about the surgery, he changed the subject. If I said I was scared, he rolled his eyes. You're acting like this is the end of the world, Tamika. People have surgery every day. One night, I heard him talking on the phone. I didn't sign up for this, he said quietly. I'm supposed to be building my future, not dealing with. He didn't finish the sentence, but I already knew what he meant. Me. The night before my surgery, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my hands. I'm scared, I whispered. He didn't look up from his phone. I think I need some space tomorrow, he said. Diana and Lexi found this spa. Hospitals stress me out. For a second, I thought I heard him wrong. You're going to a spa? While I'm in brain surgery? He sighed, like I was the problem. You'll be unconscious, Tamika. It's not like you'll know if I'm there. Something inside me cracked open. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly breaking in a place I didn't know how to fix. We fought. I called him selfish. He called me clingy, said I was emotionally manipulative for expecting him to sit around being miserable. Then he left. Just walked out like I wasn't about to have my skull open the next morning. The last message he sent me was, I'll see you after. Maybe. Maybe. My parents drove me to the hospital before sunrise. My mom cried the entire way. My dad stayed silent, gripping the steering wheel like if he let go, everything would fall apart. I kept checking my phone, waiting, hoping. Nothing. Not a single message. As they wheeled me into the operating room, I realized something that scared me more than the surgery itself. I had built my entire life around someone who couldn't even show up when it mattered most. The lights above me blurred together. Voices faded. And just before everything went dark, I stopped wondering if he would be there when I woke up. Because deep down, I already knew the answer. When I woke up, it didn't feel like relief. It felt like drowning slowly in something thick and heavy, pain, confusion, and this strange, hollow silence. My head throbbed like it had been split open and stitched back together, which, technically, it had. Every small movement sent sharp pulses through my skull. My throat was dry, my body weak, and for a few seconds, I didn't even remember where I was. Then it hit me. Surgery. The tumor. I was alive. The first thing I saw wasn't Ethan. It was a nurse. She was adjusting the machines beside me, her movements calm and precise. Dark hair pulled back, soft eyes, steady hands. Hey, she said gently when she noticed I was awake. You're okay. Surgery went well. Her name tag read Maya. My lips felt like sandpaper. Water, I croaked. She smiled slightly. Not yet. Ice chips first. She helped me sit up just enough, holding the cup steady as I tried to focus on something, anything, that made sense. And then my mind snapped back to the one question that mattered. Where is he? Maya hesitated. Just for a second. I've only seen your parents, she said carefully. They stepped out to grab something to eat. My chest tightened. That didn't make sense. Even after everything. Even after the fight. I thought he'd still come. I told myself maybe he was late. Parking. Coffee. Something. Anything. I reached for my phone, my hand trembling so badly I nearly pulled out the IV. There were a few messages. Mitch, my mom. And then, Ethan. I opened it. And everything inside me went still. Happy anniversary, failure. Guess this is what I get for wasting 4 years on someone who'll probably end up a vegetable anyway. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Not from pain. Not from the surgery. From that. I read it again. And again. Trying to find something. Some hint that it was a joke. Sarcasm. Anger. Anything that made it less real. But it wasn't. It was exactly what it looked like. Cold. Cruel. Final. It wasn't even our anniversary. That was next month. Which somehow made it worse, because it meant he didn't even care enough to get that right. Something broke inside me. But it wasn't loud this time. It was quiet. Sharp. Clean. like a thread snapping after being pulled too tight for too long. Maya must have seen something on my face because she stepped closer. Hey, what's wrong? I don't know why I showed her the message. Maybe I needed someone else to confirm that I wasn't hallucinating, that this was real. She read it, and for a brief second, the calm, professional expression slipped. Oh, wow, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I let out a shaky breath that turned into something almost like a laugh. My fiancé, I said. Or, I guess not anymore. I tried texting him back. My fingers felt heavy, clumsy, but I forced them to move. I'm out of surgery. They got the whole tumor. I stared at the screen for a second, then added, in case you care. The message delivered. No response. Of course. When my parents came back, my mom rushed to my side, her eyes red from crying. Oh, baby, she whispered, brushing my hair back carefully, avoiding the bandages. You're okay. You're okay. I nodded, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. Not yet. Not while she was already holding herself together by a thread. Where's Ethan? She asked. I swallowed. He couldn't make it. It was the easiest lie I'd ever told. My dad didn't say anything. He just squeezed my hand, but I could feel the tension in his grip. He knew something was wrong. My phone buzzed again. Another message. From Ethan. Don't expect me to play nurse for you. This isn't what I signed up for. I wanted a wife, not a patient. That was it. That was the moment everything changed. Because suddenly, everything made sense. The distance, the criticism, the late nights, the way he'd slowly pulled away the second my life stopped fitting into his perfect image. I wasn't his partner. I was his investment. And now that I was damaged, he was cutting his losses. I stared at the message for a long time, and instead of crying, I felt something else. Something colder, stronger. Like all the pain, all the confusion, all the love I'd been holding on to, had finally burned away. Leaving behind clarity, I typed slowly, carefully. You won't have to worry about that. Then I added one more line, but you might want to check our accounts. I hit send, and for the first time since my diagnosis, I felt in control. When my parents left that night, I finally told them everything, showed them the messages, watched my mom's face crumble, watched my dad go completely still, that dangerous kind of quiet that meant he was furious. He said that to you? My mom whispered, like she couldn't believe it. I nodded. I'm done, I said simply. And I meant it. That night, lying in that hospital bed, surrounded by machines and silence, I expected to feel empty, destroyed. But instead, I felt lighter, like something toxic had finally been cut out of my life. And not just the tumor. The next morning, I started moving. Not physically, not yet, but mentally, strategically. If Ethan thought he could walk away from me during the worst moment of my life and still keep everything I built for him, he was about to learn exactly how wrong he was. The ring was the first thing, that ridiculous $27,000 symbol of everything I'd ignored. I called my cousin. He worked in high-end jewelry, told him everything. Within hours, arrangements were made. The ring, and the wedding band Ethan didn't even know existed, were picked up from the apartment. Gone. Just like that. Next. The money. $83,000. Wedding fund. Mostly mine. Every late night. Every bonus. Every sacrifice. I logged into the account from my hospital bed. My hands shook. Not from fear, but from the weight of what I was about to do. You sure about this? My mom asked quietly. I looked at the screen. At the numbers. At the life I'd built for someone who left me to face surgery alone. I've never been more sure, I said, and I transferred every single dollar into an account he couldn't touch. Then I kept going. Canceled the venue. Canceled the photographer. Canceled the honeymoon. Changed passwords. Removed him from everything. Each confirmation email felt like cutting another thread that tied me to him, and with each one, I felt stronger. Hours later, my phone exploded. Call after call, message after message. What did you do? Why can't I access the account? You can't do this, Tameka. Answer your phone. Then the threats came. My dad will sue you. This is legally my money too. You're making a huge mistake. I read every message, felt nothing. Then I sent one reply. Happy anniversary to you too. Failure. And I turned my phone off. Maya came in later that evening, checking my vitals. She paused, studying my face. You look different, she said. Better? She smiled slightly. Stronger. I leaned back against the pillow, exhaustion finally catching up to me. Turns out, I murmured, cutting toxic people out of your life is good for your health. She laughed softly, and for the first time in days, it didn't hurt to breathe. But I should have known. Ethan wasn't the kind of man who walked away quietly, and I had just taken everything from him, which meant he was going to come back. And when he did, he wasn't coming to apologize. I should have known he wouldn't let it go. Men like Ethan don't lose control quietly. They escalate. 3 days after I got discharged, I came home alone for the first time. My apartment felt wrong. Not empty. Not quiet. Just off. Like something had shifted while I was gone. Some of his things were missing. Shoes, a few jackets, his laptop. But not everything. It was like he couldn't decide whether he was leaving or waiting. Mitch had already installed the security cameras. Smart move. At the time, I thought it was just precaution. I didn't realize how soon I'd need them. Recovery was slow. Pain, dizziness, headaches that came in waves. But every day I got a little stronger. And every day, Ethan got louder. Voicemails, threats, fake apologies. I panicked, Tameka. You scared me. You know I didn't mean what I said. You're overreacting. We can fix this. Then, when I didn't respond, you're going to regret this. I saved every message. Listened to none of them twice. Because once you see someone clearly, you can't unsee them. Maya started texting me around that time. At first, just check-ins. How's the pain today? Did you remember your meds? But slowly, it became more. Conversations that didn't feel forced. Laughter that didn't feel calculated. Care that didn't come with conditions. She showed up one afternoon with soup and a bag of movies. I figured hospital food withdrawal is real, she joked. I smiled. Genuinely. For the first time in a long time. It wasn't dramatic. There was no big moment. Just quiet. Safe. Real. And maybe that's why I didn't notice the storm coming. Not until it was already inside my home. It happened 2 weeks after I got discharged. I pushed my apartment door open and immediately froze. Something crunched under my foot. Glass. My living room was destroyed. Cushions ripped open. Picture frames shattered. My laptop smashed against the wall. Clothes scattered everywhere. Some of them cut. Not thrown. Cut. Like someone had taken their time. My heart started pounding. Not from fear. From anger. Cold. Controlled anger. Then I heard something. A crash. From the kitchen. I didn't think. Just grabbed the nearest thing. A broken lampstand. And walked toward the sound. Slow. Careful. And then I saw them. Ethan. And Diana. Digging through my drawers like they owned the place. They didn't even hear me at first. Too busy tearing my life apart. Looking for something? I said. My voice was calm. Too calm. They both spun around. Ethan looked unrecognizable. Eyes bloodshot. Hair messy. Shirt wrinkled. Diana looked scared. Good. Where is it? He demanded. I tilted my head. Where is what? My grandmother's sapphire, he snapped. I know you took it out of the ring before you sold it. For a second, I almost laughed. The ring you designed? I said quietly. The one that never had anything to do with your grandmother? His face twisted. You ruined everything, he said. We were supposed to have a perfect life. I stepped closer. You left me during brain surgery. Silence. You called me a failure while I was lying in a hospital bed. His jaw tightened. And now you break into my home and destroy my things? I looked around slowly, then back at him. Are you insane? Diana grabbed his arm. We should go. But he yanked free. Too far gone. He lunged, not thinking, not calculating, just reacting. I stepped aside. He stumbled into the counter, knocking over a chair. I'm calling the police, I said, already pulling out my phone. Do it, he snapped. I'll tell them you attacked me. Who do you think they'll believe? That's when I pointed. To the corner of the ceiling, the small black camera Mitch had installed. The moment he saw it, everything changed. The confidence, the anger, gone, replaced with panic. I dialed anyway. 911. I need to report a break-in. They tried to leave. Of course they did. But my neighbor, Todd, retired cop, heard the noise and blocked the hallway. 15 minutes later, it was over. Watching Ethan get handcuffed should have felt satisfying, but it didn't. It felt final, like the last piece of something ugly being dragged out into the light. You ruined my life, he shouted as they led him away. I didn't respond. Because the truth? He'd done that all by himself. The aftermath was messy. Police reports, insurance claims, statements. But the evidence was clear. Security footage doesn't lie. He was charged. Breaking and entering. Vandalism. Attempted assault. His parents tried to make it disappear. Money. Connections. Lawyers. But even they had limits. He took a plea deal. Probation. Fines. A restraining order. And the thing that hurt him most. Exposure. His arrest made the local business news. Rising startup founder involved in domestic incident. Investors pulled out within days. No one wants to back a man who can't control himself. His company collapsed. Just like that. Through mutual friends, I heard he moved back in with his parents. That the same people he used to impress now avoided him. That the life he built on my support couldn't survive without it. And me? I healed. Slowly. Physically first. Then emotionally. Maya stayed. Through everything. The worst days. The quiet nights. The moments I didn't think I'd feel normal again. She never pushed. Never rushed. Just stayed. 6 months later, we moved into a new apartment together. Fresh start. No memories tied to him. We adopted another dog to keep her rescue pup company. Life felt real again. Not perfect, but honest. One night, lying on the couch, I told her the truth. I keep waiting for something to go wrong. She turned her head, resting it against mine. That's what happens when you're used to chaos, she said softly. Peace feels unfamiliar. I nodded, because she was right. The hardest part wasn't losing Ethan. It was learning that love wasn't supposed to feel like survival. I thought that was the end of it, that I'd finally closed that chapter. But a week later, I got a notification. Unknown number. One message. No greeting. No apology. Just, you think this is over? I stared at the screen. Heart steady. Mind clear. And for the first time, I didn't feel fear. Just readiness. Because the woman he abandoned in that hospital bed? She was gone. And whoever thought they could break me again was about to find out exactly who I had become.